This is the A1, Sony's flagship camera in their full frame lineup that is well suited, incredible for wildlife. However, this camera is nearly 3 years old, and it's thousands of dollars more than other suitable full-frame cameras from Sony, making understanding its value complicated to say the least. Now, I'll touch on that, the value of the camera, and lots more as we move forward. And before we jump in, I want to let you know that this is my primary camera. I've owned a bunch of cameras, and I wanted to give you my experience with using this camera again for over 2 years. For example, just last week, I found myself at Rocky Mountain National Park, standing in the middle of a dirt road photographing some elk. And out of the blue, a pack of coyotes ran right past me. And this was most certainly a fleeting moment. I had literally seconds to fire off and capture this incredible moment. The Sony A1 did not let me down. And it's the combination of features that makes the A1 so very appealing for wildlife photography. The pictures were beautiful high-resolution images, 50 megapixels. And literally just 2 to 3 years ago, you had to decide which of these features you'd want to go with in the Sony lineup. If you wanted speed, 20 frames per second, well, the A9 was the way to go. However, that camera has a 24 megapixel sensor. On the other hand, you could definitely go with the R series, R for resolution, capturing an incredible 60 megapixel photos. And when I shot these coyotes, I literally had about 2 seconds before they moved on. And a lot of the photos I captured weren't keepers. In this example, the coyote is blinking. I'm so sad because I clipped its ear, and it's just not the kind of thing I would want to print or share on social media. And this is the reality of wildlife photography. It happens so fast. Now, if I would have been shooting the A7R5, I would have maybe had 1, maybe 2 keepers out of this particular set. And then there's the Sony A9, which offers a readout speed of 20 frames per second, which is really snappy and amazing. But again, it's only 24 megapixels. And the A1 offers 50 megapixels, nearly that of the A7R5, and it allows me to print photos, have more detail, allowing me to do more cropping in post, which is something that's really advantageous, again, when you're capturing these fleeting moments that come and go so fast. You don't have time to frame up the perfect shot. Now, that's not to say this camera doesn't have its downfalls. I'll share those as we carry on, but the whole idea is really what I'm covering, and that is, this is the one Sony A1 camera that offers all the features and functionality any serious photographer would want. In fact, it offers all the video features of the A7S III, which is a video-centric camera that does really well in both low light and, again, video. But the A1 can also record in 8K, which is incredible. And for my use case, well, I love the fact that I can shoot 4K, 120 frames per second slow motion, with beautiful autofocus and only really have a small crop, about 10%. And if video matters to you, you also have the ability to crop in camera, use APS-C mode, and then all of a sudden your 600 millimeter reach becomes 900 thanks to the 1.5 crop, and you can still capture 60 frames per second and in 4K with incredible autofocus. And if slow motion is your jam, well, the A1 allows you to shoot in S&Q up to 240 frames per second, which is about 10 times slow motion. Absolutely beautiful and incredible. Let's talk a little bit about cons. There are a number of things I really don't like. Number one is the price. This camera costs some $2,000 more than the A7R5, and I bet it'll be the same when we look at the A9 Mark III being released at the end of 2023, early 2024. But what about the value? Because with the A1, I'm not sacrificing one feature for another. I'm not trading frames per second for high resolution. I get them both. And on top of it, I get incredible video specs that no other full frame camera really offers in this kind of a package. The A1 does it like no other camera, again, in the Sony full frame lineup. Now, when we talk about actual camera flaws or cons. The low light performance is just not there. Doesn't mean it doesn't do well, but we're talking about the physics of a 50 megapixel sensor. When the light is dim, it's an issue. For example, this particular photo of a turkey was taken at 8,000 ISO. The light was just barely up and I was in the woods in the shade, and this is the shot that I got. Now, thanks to modern technology, especially for photos, denoise is really a big deal. It's not so much of an issue when we talk about photography. But when it comes to video, it's nice to have a camera that does well in low light situations. I'll probably pick up the A9 Mark III and then have both when I go out. Great for video in my studio, great for photos and video when it gets dark, etc. The other thing that's kind of a big con with the Sony A1 is the flip screen sucks. And everybody complains about this with Sony. For whatever reason, they don't really put, at this point, great quality screens on their cameras. And a lot of times I'll be doing photography where I'm not looking through the viewfinder. I'm looking at the screen. I got it away from my body as I'm trying to get the camera very low to the ground. A great example is almost always with birds. I'm trying to get the camera at the level of a lake or a pond, and that's one of the things I need to deal with. And that screen, the performance is not that good. The other thing I really don't like is the fact that it doesn't have the newer AI processing chip. This chip, without question, improves the autofocus capability and adds new features into the camera that are really fantastic, like being able to crop in camera when filming yourself. And that's something that the Sony ZV-E1 does, the new A7C, yeah, the compact cameras and more. There will never be a perfect camera. However, the Sony A1 gives me features that allows me to really leverage what's most important: high resolution, fast frames per second, and I'm hybrid, meaning I can capture incredible video, so many different codecs, so many different frame rates. It is a powerhouse and an incredible joy to use. I hope you found this particular video helpful. Check out this video on the screen now, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.